Hello everyone, this is Planckera, and welcome to my universe. And hello there, Tamak. Welcome back. So, back over here. Oh, one moment, got kind of an itchy nose. Take care of that, there we go. Okay, that should stop making my face spaz out here. Alright, so I was just gonna finish off the hair here, and when I looked at this, I still think the braid might be a little bit small. Like, that is a pretty thick braid here. So, I think I would actually like to make that just a little bit larger. So I think I'll just grab that with Liquify and see what happens. Does mean I'll have to touch up some stuff around here, but you know, that's fine. I can do that. It's better to have the thing look the way that I want it to. And all of this will leave it kind of, you know, imperfect and whatnot, but that's fine. I haven't cleaned it up yet. That's exactly why I left it for last. Just so that this way I could make any changes that I want and I would still be able to clean it up nicely. So this is gonna make it a little bit less angular than it was before. I think that's fine. I think it was kind of inevitable when I put braid texture on this that it was no longer just gonna be the, you know, straight. That's just not what braids do. So... That's just not what braids do. So some of that I do think was kind of inevitable. But I do want to at least get this the thickness that I would like to be. It is a very large braid and a very nice braid. I think this side needs to be up a little bit higher. And I'll make sure that I have the center aligned here. And then I can get in there and actually let this look nice. And it'll be great. Because this is the last bit of the front hair, at least. I think I've got a lot of experiments that I want to do with the hair, but I think I'm going to save most of them for after I get, you know, some of the hair back here done. Those big old buns. And before I do the big old buns, I want to get the crown and... you know, probably the rest of her face, actually. Since this is kind of behind her ears and whatnot, too. So, a little bit more to go before I actually get in there. And start kind of perfecting these things. But I just want to make sure that this braid looks good. Let's see, is that a better size? I'm kind of comparing it to the size of her eyes here. And to be fair, I do draw the eyes a little bit bigger than this artist. So they may not be the best point of comparison, but I'm looking at the eyes, I'm looking at the ears. Just anything else that I can really compare it to. And, you know, kind of even the hair itself. But I think that's a good size. Let me flip it over just to double check it. Give myself a little bit of fresh perspective. Yeah, I think the size is good, but I think I want this side to be a little bit higher up. I'm going to have to pull some shenanigans to do that, so... let's do that. Let's just pull some brief shenanigans here. I'm just going to rotate it and lift it up. Here we go. And I can fill in that little gap a little bit later. It really won't be any trouble at all. And this side, I think actually has to be a little bit lower. But again, not hard to do. And so then I'll just start kind of getting the final angles in there. And make sure everything is to my liking. So I can kind of compare it with the little... diamond thingies on the crown. So these guys, I got one here and I got one here. And this tells me that it kind of goes right in between them. So I think I still have it a little low. It's supposed to be like right through here. And then on this side, kind of lines up right below this one. So I think this one's at a good spot now. But this one's still a little bit low. So, you know, more shenanigans. It's fine. I'll just move it around as needed. Even make it a little bigger, I think. But those kinds of comparisons are pretty useful. They can help you get things into place and make things a little bit more proportionate. Okay. I think I still want to push you a little further in here. There we go. And this poor little hair has been ripped apart hardcore, but don't worry, I'll fix it. It'll be fine. But now I feel like everything is in a much better spot there. I'm kind of glad that I ended up doing that last. And that I did the crown first. The crown was a very, very good point of comparison for a bunch of things on the hair. So that worked out nicely. Okay. How is it relative to her eyebrow? Yeah, I'd say that amount of distance is fine. Even at this angle. I'm looking at the eyes here. I think I might need to make this one just slightly higher. Hello there, Protox. Welcome back. Oh, I made my selection way too big there. That's fine. I'll fix it. There we go. Think I want you to be just a little bit higher. And I think I actually want that hand to be just a little bit higher, which unfortunately means it's not going to be covering the exact same spot in the hair, and I've probably got some stuff to clean up there. But, you know, sacrifices must be made. It's just how it is. Yeah, and that does a flow around her eye a little bit better. I'm not really worried about it not being connected to her arm yet. I haven't done that yet. It's fine. It'll come later. Right now, I am basically focused entirely on the face. And after I get pretty much all of her head done, except the back hair will probably be one of the last things I do. You know, then I can start worrying about her upper body and all of her arms and stuff. But I gotta focus on one thing at a time here. Okay, and that feels a little bit better. Where's her nose in all of this? I'm gonna hide my head layer. And I guess the back hair layer. I'll just get rid of that for now. Let's see, does her face feel long? To be fair, her face is quite squishy. But given that she has a more mature vibe overall, I don't mind making her face a little bit longer. But I do think that my face might be a little bit low. I'm gonna push it up just a little. The main reason I want to do this right now is because, I mean, you can see it here. Now it's kind of touching the hair. That means I need to move this hair, because I do not want this to be touching her mouth. I want that corner of her mouth to be visible. Okay, but now I can turn those layers back on. Alright, yeah, now her chin is a bit big again, but I kind of expected that when I moved the face up. And do I like it better there, or do I like it better where it was? Let's take a look. I can just kind of go do a before and after real quick. No, I think I like it better where I had it before. Okay. You know what? That's good. I do think that the chin is still a little bit big, though, so... Even at this angle. Gonna go poke around that just a little bit. As I always say, if you're drawing a face, it must look good. Otherwise, the entire picture will look bad. And I think that's doubly true here, since I basically have no background elements or anything. It is basically just the picture. Or just the person. Okay. You know, I guess I don't actually have to worry about the mouth overlapping with the hair at all here. Because it's gonna be all in black anyway. You know, I should have thought of that. It's a good general principle, especially what I was trying to do, but I totally forgot that I just... I was plunging the whole thing into black anyway. Life is silly. Alright, let's go render some hair. I think her face looks good now. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my colors, and I think the first thing that I would like to touch up is this little bit of hair here. And once again, I kind of feel like I have to hide, like, all of the layers in order to make sure that all of this looks good. Because, I don't know, everything just keeps getting in the way. So, I'm just gonna hide it. This way, I can see everything. And just not be bothered by it at all. Alright. Is that part of her eyes? It sure is. Her eyes are also in the way. Okay. Now I can work freely. I'll keep the hand on there, though, because the hand is on top. So I know that anything that's underneath this hand does not really need to be rendered quite so strongly. Because it'll just be all covered up. Alright, so I'm going to put the colors back here. And just kind of fill in all the holes I created by moving the hair around. It's alright, like I said, worthy sacrifice. I think everything will look much better now. And it just goes to show one of my favorite things to do with digital. Or one of my favorite things about digital, I guess I should say. Is that I don't have to get everything right away. I can just kind of plop it down and then ask myself, okay, what's wrong here? What do I need to fix? And then I can make those adjustments, so I can just kind of focus on one thing at a time. In this case, the first thing that I did was I focused on the shape of the braid and making it look very braid-like. And then after that, I was able to focus on where on her head it sat. So I noted that it became between these little golden thingies. So I moved it up there, and now you can see it is between the two little golden thingies, whereas before it was like way down here. So that's one thing I kind of appreciate about digital. I think I'd probably go faster if I could just get it right the first time, but... And that is something that I think about, because, I mean, I've said many a time, I would like to draw faster. I would like to improve my speed. But I just feel like being able to get my ideas down and then iterate on them very, very, very fast is a useful perk of digital versus analog. And I'm making a point to call it analog instead of traditional at this point. I think it is more accurate to what a analog artist actually does. Because they don't necessarily use traditional techniques. They just use, or even traditional materials. They just don't draw on a computer. So, analog feels more descriptive. I would prefer to use traditional for people that actually do traditional techniques. I think they should be the ones to have that word. Because I gotta tell you, I'm pretty sure the old masters were not painting with watercolor. Watercolor, fantastic material. But it's a modern material. Not a traditional one. And there are a lot of places out there that are trying to keep some of the old methods alive. And how people in various time periods, I say various because I've seen some more dedicated to like 1600s, some more toward the 1800s, 19th century stuff, and just various things like that. And it varies somewhat there because, people as time went on did use different techniques. And I would just personally prefer for those people to be the holder of traditional, as opposed to just anyone that doesn't use a computer. That's pretty normal, right? It's pretty rare for someone to draw their first picture on a computer. But I would not describe what my 6-year-old draws on paper as traditional art. So, that is just my opinion there. Okay, so one thing that I want to do with this braid here, and one of the reasons that I was really happy that I could make this big black spot look good, is now I can let the braid kind of get on top of it. I can let it, invade the shadow here. And I think that'll make things look a little bit more three-dimensional, and like the braid has a thickness and body of its own. And isn't just sitting flat on her head. So I think that'll look pretty cool once I get it right. So I just kind of want to make those stick in there. And I don't think I want the line to be quite this thick. I think I want this line to be a little bit thinner than some of the other ones. Braids are kind of delicate after all. I mean... At least that's how I see them in hair. I know that when it comes to like braided ropes and whatnot, that the braids actually make them stronger and more able to handle being pulled on, I think is a good way to put it. So this way they can carry more stuff and keep things from moving quite so much. But when it comes to hair, that's not why people braid their hair, especially not rich people. And she's a vampire princess, so obviously she's rich. I'm under the impression that historically the reason that braids were popular was actually to keep their hair clean, since it was hard to just bathe regularly. But that is less of an issue with rich people. They didn't really have to worry about getting dirt in their hair quite so much. They were allowed to stay inside, where there is no dirt. So for them, it's definitely not, or it's at least less so about cleanliness and more about style and beauty. When it comes to style and beauty in character designs like this one here, I do think that trying to keep things soft and delicate is quite good. That directly contradicts the kind of style that I'm going for here, which is very angular and hard. But that's okay. I can do little things to give those kinds of impressions, like use thinner lines in the braids, and save my thickness in the lines for very, very key areas. Like where I think the shadows will be the deepest. And otherwise, I can try to keep my shadows very thin and delicate. Or not the shadows, the lines. Yes. To be fair, with my styles, they're kind of the same thing. Okay, so I just, gotta run down all the braids here. I might just do a pass where I kind of get the gist of things, and then I might do another pass where I get the line with a little more consistent. Yeah, that probably makes sense than more sense than trying to do everything at once. Because it's kind of hard to keep track of all these things. So I think I'll just roll with that. I'm just gonna kind of get it started, and then I'm gonna think a little bit more about line width and whatnot. But first, I want to get a good feel for where I feel like each little clump of hair, where it inhabits. Where does it live? Where does it live? And it's kind of important to figure that out. I mean, you can see I changed quite a bit of the shape of this one because I wanted it to be a little bit pointier. I kind of want to have, this kind of shape for the braids. Just little zigzag. And I didn't feel like that was there. Like this one here, once again, I feel like it is, has too many little plane changes. So I will straighten that one out too. See? Just like that. And then I can erase the parts that kind of go against that. And I think it'll look really good once I get through it all. And I'll be doing the same on the inside. I think I'll do both sides at the same time. It's always debatable on how I should do that. But I think it's one of those things where it doesn't really matter that much. As long as I hit every little thing and get it the way I want, it'll be fine. And since I decided to kind of focus on just getting the basics down here and not necessarily line width and whatnot, I'm going to be leaving things a little bit messier. I just want to make sure that all of these shapes are doing what I want them to be doing. I just want to make sure they're all doing what I'm doing. So I'm kind of getting rid of some of the excess curves that Liquify probably introduced. And I'm straightening it all out, trying to get that little pointy bump roughly in the center of the braid. That's where I want it. I want it to be at about the middle. And then my line width is going to be inconsistent for a little while. That's fine. It's all good. I will fix it later. Once everything is kind of making sense to me. I think that this will be much faster than just trying to get everything done at the same time. That's why I'm not really worried about it. The time to worry about it shall come. Okay. There we go. That's the end. And this time, I don't think I want the braids to invade the shadow. I want it to look like this part is on top. This part gets a pass due to the angle of the head. Whereas if I was drawing it more straight on, I would not let the braids go inside the shadow. It would just go on top. Because when I look at the reference, it does look like this side hair is on top. That's just what it looks like to me. Okay, so now I can kind of worry about line thickness and stuff. So let's see, about how thick do I want these lines to be? I think I want it to be somewhere around here, but a little bit thinner. So I'm going to use this as my reference for how thick it should be. And I'm not going to have any of the dark pockets yet. I'm just going to try to keep everything the same width, and then I'll add the dark pockets in later. Because I got to keep things simple. I got to do one thing at a time here. One thing at a time. I guess I don't need to get rid of them, though. Like, this one I think looks good already, so I'm going to keep it there. But for the most part, I'm not going to do that. Because, yeah, I did a lot of this before I was like, you know, I should probably be doing multiple passes where I make one general change at a time to everything. Because otherwise, I'm probably making my life harder than it needs to be, and I don't like where your thing is. I don't like where your bump is, so I'm going to move it down here. There we go. Same with you. I didn't move you around properly. It's alright, let me make that up to you, little guy. There we go. So this is the point where I will be fully smoothing everything. Just everything. Kind of getting it just the way I want. Sans extra little shadowy bits like that. That I will do at the very end. But the good news is that this is the last bit of front hair. So once I have this part all done, I can do the crown. And then her face. And life will be fantastic. I've been wanting to do her eyes for a long time. But I have to resist because it is not yet time. There is a time for everything. And it is just not yet time. I gotta remind myself of this a lot because I get really impatient. Really, really impatient about a lot of things. And I don't like waiting for it to be time. Sometimes I try to force it a little bit too hard. But I must wait because it is not yet time. And I must remind myself that it is not yet time. Honestly, sometimes when I say these things, it really is just to remind myself, be patient, Planckera. Don't worry, the time will come. And then you can be very excited. Okay. So far so good. I'm gonna do a couple more and then zoom out again to determine if I like this line thickness. It can be kind of hard to tell when you're zoomed in this close, whether or not it's any good. But I also find it hard to actually get the lines to be a consistent width when I'm zoomed out more. So I gotta zoom in a little. To an extent, I kind of have to trust everything that I drew before. And a lot of the time I can. It's pretty easy. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't go and double check before I do everything and zoom out and just feel sad that I did it wrong. You know, times like that is always a little bit unfortunate. You can believe and still verify. Okay, so I think I'm going to get this one, and then I'm going to check it. Because this will take me out into her face here. Which admittedly is only partially visible, but, you know, that's still enough information for now. For now. Okay. So here we go. Last one, I'm gonna kinda get down. Well, I guess I should get the last quarter of this. It's just hard because the braids are like so interlocked that it's hard to do one without doing the rest. But I think this is probably okay. I think this is a pretty good amount of information here. Just to make sure that I like all the shapes I got going here and the line width. I guess at some point I should think about locking the layer, but I don't know. It's not really necessary for what I'm doing here. Oh yeah, we're not going to do that one. Okay, that should be enough. Let me see. So if I zoom out pretty far... Yeah, I think that's perfect. It does look much softer than just everything else here with the very, very thick lines. So I think I can kind of continue this pattern all the way down, and then I'll just thicken up some areas where I think the shadows are a little bit more prominent. So like here, for example, I'll want to do one there. I guess I can just finish this part and see how I feel about it. You know, that seems like a good idea too. Let's do it. So the areas where the braid kind of feeds into each other, I'm gonna round... No. I was gonna say I'm gonna round it out. No, you're not. Stop it. You have told yourself so many times that no curves allowed, straights only. And yet you keep saying that you want to round things out. Silly, silly Planckera. No. 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 Curves allowed. Straights only. But nonetheless, I can still make the shadows deeper with straights. I just gotta not curve it. But yes, this will be where the braid kind of feeds in to each other. It gets all twisted up. So I think it should look pretty nice. Let's see, I think this actually shouldn't have a shadow there. And then I will just, work the shapes until I like them. As always. So I think this will be a good little test. See if I can get them very, very nice. And this will kind of start marking how I'm going to handle the rest of the braid. I always find that kind of useful to just do one little section, especially if you're not sure. Do one little section, see how it looks. And then if it looks good, you can carry it to everything else. And if it looks bad, then you can erase it and try again. And you didn't spend as long if you don't do the whole thing all at once. So that's the idea. But I kind of like this already. So, I'm happy. I'm glad it looks good. I'll go down about as far as I did before. So this will be the last one. Here and here. Where I just kind of cut off the corners a little bit. And yeah, I think that looks really nice. It's a really simple little thing, but I think it adds a lot to it. And I gotta say, it just makes me really look forward to doing all the science at the end. Once I have the rest of her face done. Okay. So I know where I'm going. So I'm gonna focus on just getting the line width very consistent everywhere else. And make sure that there are only straights and no curves. Okay. I'm thinking about how many braids are going to have to be drawn here. I think that there's really only 2 big ones that are visible. She has another one kind of going off the side of her head here onto her other big bun. But I think the angle of the head will hide that one. So I'm pretty sure it's only going to be this one and then the big one on the side of her head. Not happy with the consistency of this line. I want to get it to be a little bit more the same width. There we go. There we go. Okay. Well, let's see if I can at least finish off the face today. The crown is going to be tricky, though. So it might take me... It might take me a little while to get that the way I want it. It might. Okay, so what's going on here? No, that was right. Okay. I was just momentarily confused, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like this. Yeah, That looks right. This must just be one of those places where it changed direction a little bit, and it's not quite as clear anymore since I liquefied things a bit more and I'm less concerned about keeping the entire braid on a, you know, down, over, up exact angle like I had before. I think that's all that happened there. But it did leave me momentarily confused. These things happen. That's always the tricky part of the rendering process for me. Trying to actually understand what past me drew. What I was going for, and just being like, oh yeah. You know, it's not really a problem if I end up changing things, but if I end up changing a decision that I liked previously, you know, that's always a little bit of a shame. I do like to take a moment to just try to understand what past me was going for. My past self can be pretty smart sometimes, so I at least like to hear her out. Alright, almost to the end of the first line width pass. And so far, I think it's looking pretty good. I managed to keep most of the lines kind of consistent. I did keep this one thick because it would have been a pain to do, and I knew that I was just going to fill it in with shadow anyway, so, like, why take the extra effort? But for the most part, I am trying to keep things pretty consistent. I don't want to get into those deep shadows just yet. You know, one thing at a time and all that. It is actually impossible to do two things at once. Multitasking is a lie. Cannot be done. Cannot be done by the human brain. What multitasking really is just the ability to switch between tasks very quickly. But the brain is not actually capable of doing multiple things at once. Hello there, Blood Bullet. Welcome back. Okay, almost there. Almost there. Okay. There we go. This line got a little bit thin, so I'll thicken that up a little. And then these are just the last few ones, and the ones that are like in the worst shape. These poor little guys. It's alright, I'll fix them right up. And then they can be happy just like everyone else. And have smooth pixels just like everyone else. Okay. Then I just bring that in here. I kind of want to smooth out this part a little too. Looks like it got hit by the liquefy just a little bit. So I'll go and make sure that this is smoothed to my liking. And then I'll finish off that last little bit of braid here. Then we can go back and add those darker shadows everywhere instead of just the beginning, where I did my proof of concept. Okay. Yeah, and here I definitely want to make sure I keep things nice and sharp. It's not quite like here where I'm allowing myself to be a little bit lazy. The line width here must be right. There we go. Now it's nice and pointy again. And the same with right there and some of these smaller spots. And I do feel like here got a little bit blurred from all the liquefy. So I'm going to go ahead and straighten it all out. Okay, so that should be pretty good. Yep. I think that looks quite nice. So now let's go straighten out the shadows. Or I guess I should say thicken up the shadows. Just get those spots where I think the hair kind of folds in on itself much darker. I think at this point I can even lock the layer so that this way I don't accidentally color outside the lines. Always useful because then I can be careless, or at least a little bit more careless. And it's one less thing to worry about, which is always nice. I do enjoy having less things to worry about. It makes life a little bit easier. Now, I do want to make sure that my lines are nice and straight. And some of these shapes I feel like got a little bit complex. Which is why I am kind of deliberately putting the shadows at a place that makes certain shapes that I think got a little bit overly complicated a little bit simpler. It'll make them a little easier to understand. Always save your complexity for where it's the most important. Okay, and then I'll just kind of erase a little corner of that because I can. But otherwise, I think it's good. All right, and I think that is it for the braid. I'm thinking about if I want any more shadows on this part of the hair. And I might. But I think I'm going to save that spot for science when it's time to go do more science. But that'll be later. I'd like to finish the crown and a bunch of other things first. Now the crown is a bit different in that I do want the back of her hair to be showing for that. So I will get the back of her head back up there, and I might as well turn on the rest of her face because I like it. So, okay. Time to examine the crown again. Alright. I just want to take a look at it. You know what? I think I have a better reference here. Let me pull that up. It's just a little bit higher quality, and I also have it at a couple of different angles, which is useful. I say that, but then I have trouble finding it. Life is hard. Okay, there we go. That one's pretty good. That one's a pretty okay. Okay, so what does it do again? What does it do exactly? So last time I kind of got started with the overall structure. I have the basics of it down, and so now I just need to finish it off. I do think that this gem spot I have down here is a little bit small, so I'm going to make it a little larger. Just going to take the liquefy tool to it, and I will make everything nice and straight afterward. Okay, so that's a start. I still think it's a little small, but I think the shape is looking nicer now. So I'm just going to go ahead, select it, and make it a little bit bigger. Well, so far so good. I just finished the braid here, so I'd say drawing is going pretty well today. Okay, so these spiky bits here kind of line up with the part of her hair. So I'm gonna go drop them here. I think that's a little bit more accurate than what I had before. Okay, now I also want to start paying attention to stuff like gems, because it has these little red gems in it. So I'm gonna go... Do I want to introduce another color? I do kind of like minimizing my colors when I do stuff like this. But these are so much lighter than like this that I do think I should actually use their color. I think this is going to be pretty accurate to it. Kinda... You know, it's almost kind of a hot pink, now that I look at it. Yeah, much dimmer here, but if I make it a little bit more saturated... Maybe I can use it for the same color for the eye glow. And that way I don't have to introduce too many more colors. Okay. Sounds good to me. Alright, what am I doing? Okay. So the gem here is kind of a little bit more of a perfect diamond than the thing holding it. The thing holding it is a little bit longer and pointier. But the gem is pretty close to a perfect diamond. So I'm going to try to get that in there. I am getting to the point where I'm rendering everything out. And how is it size-wise? Are you about the right size? Do I need to make you bigger? No, I think this is a pretty good size. Okay, so this one has a gem too. How much space is around it? Only a little. Maybe a little bit more than that, but not very much at all. So I'm going to put it down. And there we go. There we go. Okay, I think that's about the right size. Then the ones out on the edge are actually basically entirely gem. So this guy... I don't think I have you quite the right size, but I'll go ahead and plop you in for now. And that one. This one. And this one. And I'll get them looking a little better. I just kind of want to get the basics in so I can understand it. Okay. And then each of these little guys here have little gems in them as well. I believe. Isn't there like a third one here, though? Did I misinterpret? You know, maybe I did. Okay, I need to find a little bit more reference here just to make sure I got it right, but yeah. Anytime I look at the headpiece in higher quality, I only see two. I do not see this third one. Okay, let me find one with her head turned a little bit just to make sure. Because I'm not sure what past me saw. And I want to make sure that I am not being silly and missing something that past me saw. Very important. Very, very important. But yeah, no matter how much I look at it, there's only two. So I'll go ahead and drop the third ones on... Or no, you are the second one. I'll go ahead and drop the third one down there and just send this a little bit more, just kind of behind her head here. I do think we see a little bit of the side of it, though, so... Probably somewhere like this. And then it kind of disappears behind her hair, and presumably behind her ears at some point. Okay, I think that still looks good. Let's give them their little gems. How are they shaped? Okay. More, again, just kind of perfect diamonds. Whereas the little thing that they're in is a little bit longer. I don't think I can really get them super accurate right now. So I'm not going to try. I'm just going to plop them in for now. Kind of get it started. And this one we kind of, yeah, see the side of. So this one should probably be a little bit higher up. There we go. And this one we just see the side of it. So we'll probably see a little flat part coming up there. And I'll draw that accordingly later. Because I would like to keep the gems clipped to the crown. Okay. There we go. I think that's looking pretty much like this. I am going to go to her... the glowing part of her eye. And I'm going to turn the outer glow into the color I just picked. And see if that looks good. Yep, still looks about the same to me. So I did change the color a little bit, but not much. And yeah, that worked just fine, I think. Okay. So at some point I need to draw these little things, the little tiny chains hanging here. I'm not quite sure how I want to handle them yet, but they're going to be like the last thing I do after I render everything else. And I do want to get this a cross-shaped hair clip. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. In there as well. And I think in order to accurately draw this, I want to know exactly where the center thing is sitting. So I'm going to go render this thing. And we'll get him just right. And you know what? Before I do any of that, I kind of want to know where I'm going to put shadows. Okay. So this will probably be merged down, but I just want to start getting some of these shadow shapes in here so that I can get a feel for what I'm going for. I don't quite think I have enough information yet to really feel comfortable rendering this. You know what? I'm just going to merge these together. I was going to do it on a different layer so I could move it around a little bit more, but I think that would just confuse me. Now that I think about it. Yeah, so the little kind of more net-like bits coming out here. There's the parts around the side that kind of curl up. So this part is long and thin. Like this. Long and thin, it kind of tapers out. And then up here, about, horizontal from the gem here, so I have my current one's a little bit high, is they come out and curl around like this. Okay. The curl is not very strong, though. I think I kind of overdid it. Let me find a different picture. This one has her head at a slight angle, so I'd like one where she is looking a little bit more head-on. Okay. So it curves a little bit more than this, but not much. And indeed, when I looked at the picture, I was like, does it curl into where this little bit of hair, overlaps the front bangs here? And yes, it does. So that tells me that I do have everything at about the right spot here. Very good to know. Okay, and then that little bit that the net kind of attaches to. Oops. Over here. Like that. Alright, I better get the other side while it's kind of fresh in my mind here. And let's see, I don't think you're quite in the right spot. I want to point that a little more accurately. I gotta get those angles real good, otherwise everything will look wrong. A little bit too zoomed in to really be able to see the angles correctly. Okay, I think that's all right. Now let's see, the gem. I also think it's really important that I get the angle on the gem right. Because I'm kind of using that to place a lot of other things. So if it's wrong, I'm going to get a lot of other things wrong too. In fact, I'm actually going to hide the shadows that I put in. I know I want them there, But now I'm going for like a hardcore accuracy. So I don't want anything to distract me. Everything must get into their homes now. Everything must be in exactly the right place. No longer be kind of loose with it. There we go. I think I might just fully render this now. Only this one for now. I don't think I'm going to give it a lot of its detail, but I do want the edge to be correct. It's probably going to get touched up later, just because I never get these things right the first time. Like, basically never, so I'm not going to worry about being 100% smooth. But I want to get very, very close. I think it'll help me with the accuracy of everything else. I think I want it a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Let me see, do I have enough gold around it? I might have made it a little too big. I think I did, actually. And it actually looks like it's inset into the crown, as opposed to coming out of it. Okay, that's actually good to know. That will change how I shade it. No, this is about correctly sized. Okay, good. I got it. Nice. Okay, so that should be enough thickness on the golden parts here. So let's start kind of drawing that. Let's start drawing that. So this little bit, I kind of want it to be a little bit higher. Okay. And then this connects to this pretty directly, actually. Enough so that I'm actually a little bit nervous about drawing it. Because it's connected so directly. And yet kind of... how to say... it's underneath. So that should mean that I have a little black spot here, and then I draw the thing out from there. So I'm gonna focus on just getting everything here, like, just right, and then I'm gonna redraw some of the other things. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get the hairband wrapping around her head, and then I'll draw all the pointy bits again. But this one, I think, is going to determine many things. Okay, and then around the gem, I might actually have these... yeah, that's not quite in the right spot. I like where that is relative to the hair. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take these two layers and lower them until everything else is in the right spot. About how far down on her head does this go? I now definitely have it too low. I think it's a little bit too big. Okay, maybe I don't have to do that then. If the whole thing is a little bit too big, I should change that first. Okay. And then I can move this part up a little bit until it is in the right spot. Probably a... No, I think it actually is already in the right spot. But everything else is a little bit too low, but also too high. Okay, no, I know what I gotta do. I do have to move this part up. I just kind of had to talk myself into it. There we go. It should be up here. Basically, when I go look at the crown, it's a little hard to see on this one. But you can see that the arms, the little arm thingies coming out, it's the very bottom of it where the curve is that actually lines up with that, not the top like I had it. So that's all I was fixing there. You gotta respect those angles, man. Otherwise, everything will just look... Because what I was noticing is that there's like a black part coming down here. Or basically, more accurately, everything meets up top there. I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of this little spike for now. I'm gonna focus on just getting these curly parts right. And all of the outside. See, this is why, as much as I really, really wanted to do her face today, I was like, well, shoot, I still have to do the crown. And I definitely want to do that before I go and do the face. The face will be my reward for doing the crown. So we'll see how far I get. And how all that works out. Okay. This should be curling a little bit more. So I want to bring the outer part a little closer. I am digging hard into the angles now. Because that's what you gotta do when you're getting everything into the final state. Like, earlier, I could keep things pretty loose, and it was fine. No more. So I'm gonna put some of the shadows underneath now. It's fine if I need to move it around a little bit still, but this will help me see, so it's all good. And I'll keep the ones not in shadow thinner. Or I guess I should say the ones not representing shadows a little thinner. Okay, and I'm not going to bother with the other side just yet because that's going to be changing. Okay, and what set me off on this little adventure here was that I observed there was a part coming out top here. So I want to get that the right spot. I'll go ahead, and I like how I drew this before, so I want to keep it pretty similar. I'll drop in the shadow there. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. And what I observed is that this piece that kind of connects up into this part actually kind of folded into the curve there, and it kind of went up like this. So this tells me I probably don't have the gem, something about the gem quite right, so maybe I should hide it. But yeah, it just went up like this, up into here, and then went down into this side, where it curled up into here, much like the other side, and just went around the bottom like that. So I don't have everything quite aligned properly. That's fine. I'll go ahead and liquefy it. Okay, so it had a shape kind of like this, basically. And that's kind of what made me move a bunch of stuff around and why I realized that I didn't have it quite right. Because I couldn't make this kind of shape. And this is why I'm still sketching things out, as opposed to going deep into rendering mode, because now I need all these little details. Now it is time for all the details. This is why last time when I was working on this crown, I said, nah, I wasn't doing any of the details. I was just getting the general structure of it down. And this is why. This is what details actually look like. Okay, so I'm kind of putting the side of it in and all that. Kind of smoothing all that out. I'm still going to keep things a little bit rough for a little while because I do want to go out and check this before I really fully render it. So I might actually end up, going in and doing the face before this is finished. Just so I have time to look away and make sure that all my angles are correct. And I find it a lot easier to make things look correct after I haven't looked at it for a little while. But this looks pretty centered to me. So I think I have those pretty good. Let's go ahead and get the gem back in here. Now I'm worried about making my gem too small, but we'll see how it works out. How exactly does it sit in that? Yeah, there's not very much space around it at all. Okay. And I need to fix the angles on them. It's like this. Okay. There is a little bit of space, and I do want to respect that. So I will carve that back in. But otherwise, I think this is pretty good. Pretty good. Well, that's all right. I always say that you should come here when it's fun and not when it would stress you out. It's all about just coming to have a good time. So if you've got other stuff you need to do, don't worry. I'll be here once you're all done. Okay. And I think that looks pretty all right. Okay, so I have the little part coming up here. I think I might have it a little bit thin. And then partway through this, kind of when it starts turning into that, actually, which does tell me that I have this part not connecting quite correctly. It needs to be connected a little bit further down. But basically, there's like a tiny, tiny little hole just right here. I think most of this area is supposed to be the tiny hole, and I might need to hide some layers in order to depict this accurately, but honestly, zooming in helped. Go figure. So I might be good. But I do want to get that in there now. But it is just a tiny, tiny little hole. Just a tiny, tiny hole. And I'm just trying to get it to sit in here a little bit better. So I want the point to be like a little bit more like this. This part should probably come out just a little bit more. This part in. And then I can extend it up into that. And get it to be a little closer to the angle that I think it should be. So I think something like that is pretty good. So, there we go. What kind of shape is that? Okay, so there's more like little curly parts coming out the bottom there. So for here, it'll be kind of like... Okay, tablet got confused for a second there. Like this. I think that might be a little small. Both too big and too small. I'm just gonna try it again. Because basically what happens is it stays real close to the rest of it. It doesn't venture too far away. Not at all. There we go. I think that's pretty accurate. And then over here, I actually don't think we'll even see where it curves entirely. Since it sticks so close to the edge there. And I'll want a shadow, just kind of pull this apart. I'll go ahead and plop it all the way down, I guess. So there we go. It will have the line like that. And then hopefully this will let me get it into place here. And like I said, it's okay if I don't have the shadow, or this line, and doing exactly the right thing just yet. And it's okay if I kind of draw on top of it. I will be smoothing things out just a little bit later. Right now, I just want to get everything in. Everything just needs to exist. And once it exists, I make it look nice. Once I understand, then I can make it look nice. Let's see, I think I might have it a little high. No, that looks about... I was gonna say it looks about right, but no, I'm not sure it does. I think it's a little high. So I'll just liquefy it to submission until it looks exactly the way I want it to. I'm still not quite happy with it. It still doesn't feel like it's quite doing the right thing. Am I overestimating the angle again? I might be. Like, do I need to pull it out a little and actually show that little curl right there? Do I need to do it a little bit more like this? Okay, that actually looks pretty okay. Okay, I like that. It looks a little bit better. I mean, what I have is still definitely off. It's too high. Like, what point on the diamond should this be? It doesn't... Like, when I compare locations, it doesn't really look that far off, though. So I'm a little confused as to why it feels too high to me. Okay, but I think this is fine. Yeah, I guess it wasn't that far off, then. Okay, I'll move on to the next piece. Which is gonna be the spiny parts that the net-like thing connects to. So that'll be over here. Where it kinda comes off like that. Where does it start coming? This hole isn't actually shaped like this. In fact, it might not even be a hole at all. Okay, I don't think it is. Well, that's a little sad, but that's okay. Because what I think is actually happening here is just that this part of the crown just comes all the way down into this, like this, and then this is just where it kinda... It just makes a little dent. There's like a little piece coming out, so I think it's a little bit more like that. Okay. And then... I probably have this piece a little bit long, I'm realizing. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna change the angle with the shadow here. There. Which will also mean that this needs to come up, which explains why I had that diamond so big on my first pass. And why I had to shrink it down so much. I just didn't have this part quite large enough. That was the real trouble. Right now it is definitely curving a little bit too much, the diamond, the gem. Okay. So that should be good, and now I should be able to more correctly let the spiny parts here start at the top there and kind of come out here. Just something kind of gentle like that. I think that looks pretty good. Now I'll just do it on the other side. Connect up here. Come down and into the curve there. Okay. I'm kind of examining the part that the gem sits on, and I think I have it backwards, actually. Where this line that goes around this, it actually goes pretty steep up like this. It's a cutoff. It's cut off from the rest. Like that. This is why I gotta look very, very carefully when I'm getting into some of the details like this. Because, man, there is a lot to this. This is a very complicated little accessory. Okay. So I'm gonna kind of try to make it look like it's all kind of behind everything and that this part in the middle is kind of sitting on top of it all. And then I can make the gem a little bigger through here. Like I think it should be. I was a little bit worried with how small it was in a few places there. But now I can fix it. Now I think my comparisons are all a little bit more accurate. And so I can get this gem just a little bit more accurate here. Okay. And then any places that I don't think feel quite right, I just adjust a little. Due to the angle, I think that we see something a little bit more like that. I think that should be okay. We'll see how I feel about it in 5 minutes. That's the ultimate test. Just always see how you feel about it in 5 minutes. Alright, and now I think I got that base part down, so I'm gonna work on getting the headband around her head. That's gonna be the next thing. But I think this looks like it's sitting on her head. Like, I don't have all the shadows and stuff where I want them yet, but I think it mostly looks like it's sitting on her head. Maybe the gem's still just a little bit tilted funny. But, yeah. And then maybe just a little bit of tilt here. So I'll just adjust this all slightly, but I think it's like 90% right. 90%'s not bad. I'll take it. I'll take it. Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty all right there. Let me mirror it just to make sure. I might have this line a little thick, but I think I can kind of perfect that once it's really time to render it all. But otherwise, I think it looks really good. So, yeah, let's start getting this hairband here. And I'll get that wrapping around the head a little more accurately. I might end up cutting off a few gems, that's fine. I'll fix them a little bit later. It's more important that all of this be kind of wrapping around here. So I think that this needs to kind of tuck in back here. Okay, let me put at least the start of the little gems back in. There we go. There we go. And I kind of want to tilt this back just a little. It is a little bit annoying to do since I have so much other stuff drawn, but it's okay. I can erase it and fix it afterwards. I needed those things in order to be able to see what I'm doing right now. That's exactly why I'm doing this first, because I knew that once I really, really went in and made sure that the band was sitting on her head properly, that I was probably going to have to mess up some things. It is what it is. It's just kind of how it works. I'm still not gonna fully render everything yet. I'm just I'm just getting everything into place here. That's my only goal. Basically, it's going to be about as refined as this one. Where it's still missing kind of my shadows and that kind of thing. But there we go. I feel like that's sitting on the head pretty decently now. So I'm going to go in and start getting this one all connected. And at this point, I think I can safely start getting all the details in. Just all of them. Make sure that everything is sitting on her head just right here. Okay, so right now I'm just trying to get the diamond here to fit in the shape. Because it takes up most of this. And I think that's pretty alright. Okay, so now this is where things are going to get interesting. Because this one doesn't have a gem, it has a hole. Yeah, I think I might actually do the weird metal net before I go to the rest of those. So with the way this net works, let's go ahead and kind of erase what's there. And let's see. So there's a spot kind of right here that comes out here, and a spot here that comes out here, and they meet over here. I think they meet roughly on top of the hair, so I think that's correct. I'm gonna push this up just a little, and I kind of want this to be a little more curved, but that is the general gist. And it is kind of underneath everything, so it's like this. And then both of those come together. And kind of come up here to this. That's not a good angle, but they come up here to the gem. This is too thick. Right here. This is where they meet. That is where they meet. And I still don't feel like I have the angle quite right. So I want to angle it a little bit more nicely here. Because what happens is that this gem here sits on top of it. So if I don't have it in the right spot, that gem will get too big. It'll be too long. So I want to get that in a good spot here. Okay, so I think that's pretty good for that side. So now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Where we have a thing that comes out, it kind of meets up at the top of the hair here. I guess it'll be a little bit different on this side. Just due to how the angle of her head is. But it'll still kind of work out like that. Let me... Okay, I wanted to check the thickness of it. So I think it'll be like this. And then the one from over here come out kind of like this. And I feel like that's too far out. I want to kind of bring them together over here. And I'll go ahead and fix these curves. Just fix everything there. There we go. So they kind of meet together right there. And then head out and connect over there. Okay. So that should be pretty all right. I think I still have that a little far out. So I'm going to bring it a little closer. I think this one is a little far out too, so I'll bring it a little closer. And I'm trying to get it pretty symmetrical with the one on the other side. It'll look a little different due to head angles, but it'll be mostly the same. If they look too different, I probably did something wrong. That's kind of what it means. Okay, and then this is behind, so we kind of get something like this. Okay. Connects up into here, and I think something like that is fine. It's a little gooey and messy still, but that's all right. I will be able to fix it. Okay, and then we have another thing kind of connecting from this gem up here. Well, there's no gem on it, but this spike part right here, it kind of comes down and it overlaps a little with this one, so it's going to be doing something like this. That angle is terrible. Let me try that again. So the center of it should be something like this. It'll come out like this. This side will come out like this. And then they'll meet together at the top. And there is a hole in there, but I'm going to leave it filled in a little longer. Just until I'm a little bit more confident with the shape. As always, structure first, detail second. So let me finish getting the structure of this guy down. And then I'll carve out the little hole in him. Don't worry, I won't force him to be all filled in when he doesn't want to be. But I gotta get the structure down first. Otherwise, everything will just be wrong. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same with this one. So the center, I think, is like right about there. And it'll come down kind of like this and like that. And this side up like this. And up. And then this side up like this. And up. So there we go. That should be a nice and structural. And then I can just kind of perfect the shape that I want until I'm happy. Gotta be happy. That's what art is all about. Okay. So I'm gonna straighten out the band just a little. I wasn't quite happy with it. And it's gonna be a little bit hard to change once I have all these things drawn. Sleep? Okay. So then, Now I have that in there. And that's where the next part of the net starts. It starts here and ends right at like the base of everything here. So kind of like that. This one, I don't even think we see all of it, so I'm just gonna plop it there. Okay. Oh, hold on, I've got a little cough. Give me a moment. Throat was all tickly. All right. And there is one last little bit of the metal net, and that goes from the tip to right about... Oh, wrong color. From the tip to right about there. This side, I don't think we see very much of it at all. So there we go. That should be about the right shape. I think mine is maybe a little elongated, but I think it looks okay, so I'm just going to leave it like that. Alright, so I think I can feel pretty good about carving out the hole in this guy. So that's going to be like this. Goes down to about the band. And then I will worry about getting the angle right here. This side will be a little thicker due to the angle of the head. But once again, I'm not really going to be fully rendering it yet. That'll come a little later. Probably next stream, actually. Just because I want some time to really look at it and make sure that I have all the details right before I render it. And it's nice to be able to sleep on that. And this one I'm going to do a little differently because I want to show the angle of it a little more clearly there. I feel like I need that in order to understand. I'll put it here too. But this one's not going to be quite as big. That's why I didn't feel the need to do it the first time. But yeah, it'll be like that. Okay. Now I can start kind of getting these gems. So they're entirely gems, but I have the gems clipped to the crown layer. And I kind of want to keep it that way. So I will just... draw this in crown color. And then once I am confident that I have it all right, then, and only then, will I start putting the gem color back on. Okay, so they kinda... The center of the diamond on them is going to be right about there. Kinda like that. And it's fine if I have to erase a little bit of the net that I just made. I will just draw it back once I am a little more confident in my angles here. There we go. I think that's all I really had to do. Okay. So you can see I'm carving out a lot of the stuff that I did before. Still okay. Don't worry, it'll get replaced once I think it all looks good. But right now, I really want to make sure that I have the angles on this gem just right. And it's hard to do when all this other stuff is in the way. But this is exactly why I'm not really worried about rendering it yet. Because I'm still just kind of carving things out. But I think that one's looking good, so I'm going to get the one on the other side now. Is it the right length? Or did I make it too short? I did make it a little bit too short. Okay. Well, since I have the angles right, all I really have to do is extend it outwards. That's kind of what that means. All I really have to do is extend it outward a little. And then it'll be the right length. That's the importance of the angles. Because once I have those angles right, I can do whatever I want here. And everything will just work out. That's why you lay the foundation first. That's why I didn't get into drawing all these random things the first time through, and why I'm hiding my gem layer right now, while I figure out where some of these things should live. And why I'm taking the time to go look at the reference one more time, to make sure that I have the gems sitting where they need to be sitting. Because once I have it, everything becomes easy. So it's worth giving yourself a little bit of a hard time early on when everything is loose and everything is easy to change. Rather than after you spent, an hour rendering something and suddenly realize that you got to move it over a little. Don't skimp out in that foundation. Your future self will thank you. So I'm just doing the same thing here again. I just got to make sure that structure is there. The angles here are a little bit different than they are on the other side, so I'm kind of feeling it out. And once again, I am going to have to kind of clear some stuff that I drew before. And it's still okay. It'll still all be okay. But it'll tell me where these things are sitting. And how I should make them longer. Because I do think that this one has to be a little bit longer here. Still a little bit gooey, but I think that's okay. And by gooey, you can I mean that it doesn't look like a rigid gem. The lines are not straight enough. But that's exactly why it's okay, because, it's easy to make lines a little straighter. Just erase the curves, and suddenly it's a little straighter. And then I can draw all the pieces back. All the pieces that I erased. Okay. So now I just got this gem on this last side there, and he's pretty small. He's just a little guy. He doesn't even completely come off the crown. He just kind of hangs out in there. So his center is going to be like right about there. And I actually think I have this angle completely wrong, so I'm just going to start over. Because he kind of sticks out like this. And like I said, he doesn't even come off the crown. So in order to know where to put the gem, I actually gotta draw the line here. So still a little gooey. I will fix that. There we go. Just like that. Okay, and then over here. I'm just, once again, I'm gonna start over right there. I think that'll be easier than trying to salvage that mess. So, there we go. Let me see. At the angles that I have things, how should you be tilted? I think I actually need to tilt you a little bit more. So I'm gonna pull this corner this way, and this corner this way. And this will make it look very gooey, but, you know, like I keep saying, it's easy to fix. Okay. And now I think I can draw this last little gem coming out just like this. And once again, I will draw the line. Just so that this way I know where to put the pink part. Kinda like that. Kinda will disappear into the hair. So I don't even think that entire gem will be showing. And because some of them overlap the hair a little bit, I'm actually gonna put these into a group called crown. There we go. But once I get these in, that is a significant chunk of the crown done here. So at that point, all I have to do is, you know, these two little guys on either side here. And then I will just render it all out next time. Or maybe a little bit today, depending on how long it takes me. So I want gems in there. Do I want to do any shadow stuff before I go do her eyes? You know, the answer, you know what? The answer is just no, because I just really want to draw her eyes. That was a silly question to ask. It's like I could. I will almost certainly want to do that before I render it, but man, I just really want to draw her eyes. And this will give me a second to check for structure. And once I'm pretty sure that the structure is good, then I can go in, do some shadows, and then next time I can double check again if everything looks good, and if it does, render it. It'll be great. But yeah, I'd say that looks like her crown. I think we're good. Anyway. Diamond thingies. What do they look like? Okay. Phew, I gotta say, this is a lot of brain work. My brain is getting a little tired, so today might be a day where I take it kind of easy. Today, I think, will be a day for taking it easy, but it's okay. Those days can be nice. The gems are throwing me off, so I'm gonna hide them for a little bit until I think that this looks correct. I think I'm just gonna get all of these little gem holders looking correct, and then I'll go back and add the gems at the end. I wasn't quite happy with where the bottom of this one was. It still doesn't feel right, man. I still don't like it. I'm just gonna liquefy it into place. There we go. What I had at the start was probably a little closer to correct, actually. You know, before I went and kind of erased it. Oh well. Well. So I'm just going to pull this around until it feels right to me. I'm going to go look at it one more time just to kind of make sure I'm on the right track. And then I'm just going to move this around until it's doing what I want it to do. Just paw at it. Okay, and then the rest from here, I think it'll be a little bit easier just to draw it. So I will do that. But I think that's about right. I think I'm going to get the basic structure on the second one before I go any further. But it looks like it's about the same as this first one. Let me see. It looks like it's a little bit longer going down. Yeah, just a little bit longer going down, so I can't quite copy-paste it. So it's a little bit more like this. But it does have a very, very similar idea. Then I just kind of fold over the edges there. And there we go. Alright, and then the two on this side. They look about the same, but in this case we don't really see the whole thing. We only see the side that kind of overlaps her hair, so I'll be cutting it off like that. And then I just want this triangle in the right spot. The resulting triangle that I cut from the diamond. And then I want a little tiny part sticking up for the width of the gem. Okay, one more. And once again, I think this one is going to be a little bit longer than the other. So I'll let this part overlap like that. But once again, we only see the side. So I'll just have this little part sticking out. And that's where the gem will go. Okay, now I can turn the gems back on. Get the color. And draw them in. I'll do that before I get the last couple of details on them. Because there are a few little decorations on this guy and the corresponding one on the other side. He's got a little curly guy coming out of him. And I will want to draw those nicely. But that will be the last little detail here, and then I can go and add all the shadows and stuff when I'm ready. Whenever I'm ready. Okay, so there we go. Is that what this looks like? I have this gem a little bit big. He doesn't go into the band part. He just kind of sticks like this. So that was the only detail I really got wrong there. How are you on this side? Okay, and then the other one. The other one I think I also have a little bit big. So I'll go ahead and shrink them down a little. And then for this one, I need to do just a touch up right there. Okay. But there we go. I think that looks good. So let's get that little curly spot. There's just a little curly right here on this one. Does something like... No, not quite like that. Like that. I do think we see a little bit of the point, but only a little bit, so I think that's perfect. But this is the kind of thing I look for when I'm trying to draw shapes like this. And I'll even go ahead and add in the little line here because it does look like this curly overlaps. So the curly is on top over here. And I want to make that obvious. And naturally, you know, when I render this proper, I'm going to be turning these into straights. But I'll leave them curved for now because that makes them a little bit easier for me to understand. Since in her actual design, they are curved. It's okay, the no curves allowed, straights only, really only applies to when I'm finishing it. Early on, when I'm just trying to understand, I can do whatever is necessary to help me do that. And in this case, the curves are useful. Okay. And there we go. I think that is the basic structure of the crown. I will add all of the lines and shadows and stuff a little bit later, I think, because I just really want to do her eyes. I have been holding back, man. And I want to give myself some time to just not look at that and make sure that I still like the way it looks and that I didn't do anything silly. But I think it looks pretty good, and I do think it looks like this. So I think I have everything in a pretty good spots. I might need to adjust that gem just a little, but, you know. Yeah, I said eyes. It's time to do her eyes. So I'm gonna hide some layers again. Just to make everything highly visible to me. I'll go do her eyebrow afterward. I just really want to do her eyes right now. Okay, and hair be gone. I want to get the shape of her eyelashes just right. So I'm going to go ahead and erase the spiky parts. I do want to keep them going down in front of the eye in order to give them the right kind of shape. And I do want to get rid of the hand, too. We're just gonna get rid of everything that is blocking my sight here. And I think that even includes her little, extra chuny cross in the eye. So let's just go ahead and finish off this face. And then I can worry about the rest of her head. I've been looking forward to doing this for so long. I told myself that I could make myself a new thumbnail. A thumbnail screenshot after I finished her eyes in the shape of her head. So, I kind of want to do that now. Fortunately, I think I have everything looking pretty good already. I just kind of need to smooth it all out. Is there anything that I really want to, like, adjust here? I guess I want to make sure that I understand what's going on over here. Because this part is sticking out of her head, if I recall. And I mean, that's just no good. So I'm kind of going back and forth to help keep them a little more symmetrical. But I think I'm going to turn my layers back on soon because I think it's looking fine. And with the layers on, I can know which spots I don't really have to worry about smoothing too hard. So it's good information to have. So at this point, I think I can trust what I drew. Never mind that the eye whites are escaping her eyes right now. Don't worry about it. That'll be fixed. And now I can just kind of perfect the shapes here. This might be hard to do with no curves allowed, but you know what? I'm going to try. I'm going to eliminate any curves that I can. And try to keep things a little bit straighter. So that's probably going to require a bit of erasing on my part, but you know, I can do that. It's all good. And I'm not going to be putting too much detail into the irises themselves. We're going to keep them real simple. Okay, no wonder I hate everything. I was at 133% again. It keeps happening. Okay. Oh yeah, nice and smooth. So here, I want to be very particular about everything. The eyes are probably, like, the most important thing here. You don't mess around when it comes to drawing animes with, you know, eyes. Everything must be just right. Okay, and I think that's probably okay there. Let's see, I kind of want to clean this just a little bit more here. Separate it from the hair just a little bit there. There we go. Get that angle just right. How do you look? Oh, that's good. She still has a little bit of that kind of sleepy look in her eyes, and her eyes still look a little wide to me. So I'm glad I was able to get both there. Let's do the same thing over here. I still remember roughly what I did, so... Roughly, at least. No, that one lacks the wide-eyed look. So I need to make sure that I put this straight in the right place. There we go. That's much better. Very important that I keep the expression about the same. So I still want to keep a little bit of that sleepy look that she has. But I want to make sure that her eyes look wide. So that's the goal there. Okay. And then here I had it in three straight lines. There's one here, and then one up the back that we don't really see at this angle. There we go. Just slowly kind of chipping away there. All right, how's that? Pretty good, I think. So I don't trust myself, so I'm gonna make a new layer. And then I'm gonna put in the fluffy parts of her eyelashes. And I'm still gonna try to keep them very straight. This one might need a few curves, but we'll see what happens. I already don't like this one, so I'm gonna try again. It's okay, that's exactly why I made a new layer. It's just not going in the right direction. I should probably start from this side, honestly. It's okay, it always takes me a few tries to get these right. And I want to be very particular about it, so... Like I said, no messing around with the eyes. They must be perfect. Always. I don't know, I still don't really like it. The idea is correct, but it's not right. It's not. Nope, nope, nope. Nope. Let's just try it again until I get them kind of all facing the right direction here. Okay, that should be good. And then I'm just gonna make them a little fluffier because it makes me happy. Okay, I think that's fine, and then I can do a few little bottom lashes here. I'll just draw them the way that I always do for now, and then I can straighten it out after. I think that's a good way to do things. Stops me from getting fixated on getting everything perfect right away. And I do enjoy fluffy eyelashes. So they're gonna be like super fluffy. Because it makes me happy. No other reason. It just makes me happy. Okay, now for the other eye. Gotta really feel out the angle here because it's a little different. Yeah, I already hate it, so let's try again. But man. Do you go the other way then? No, that one definitely doesn't. I guess this way's fine here, and then it just kinda goes like that, and then gradually starts turning, maybe? No, that looks pretty bad. Yeah, that looks pretty bad. These ones are okay. Like, I think this one's okay. But the rest are pretty bad. So what the heck do they do? What do you do, guys? Where do you want to go? It's alright, you can tell me. I guess that's fine. They don't really look super fluffy, so I'm gonna have to go and fix that, but structurally I think that's okay, so let's go ahead and get the lower lashes in. Alright. They almost look better without him, if I'm being honest. Maybe I should just make them a little smaller. Let's find out. I'll just make them a little smaller. And I can fluff them out at the end. Yeah, if they're gonna be smaller, then I kind of have to... I guess it's a little better. Man, I don't think I've ever had this much trouble on eyelash spikes. Normally, they come fairly naturally to me, so this feels weird. But yeah, I guess that's the joy of doing something different. You will run into all sorts of new and exciting problems that you never thought possible. But yeah, I just kind of liked it better without them, but I do think that they are necessary to a degree, so I don't want to completely go without. It just doesn't really look like Malice to me without him. But I think that's okay. I think once I clean these up and make certain ones a little fluffier, that this will look okay. So let's go do that. And then we'll see how much of the rest of her eyes I can get done before I have to head out. I get the feeling my daughter's really gonna want to go to the park today. She's been asking all week, but she's been having stuff after school all week, so it's always a bit too late. Okay, then I'll just add a few little fluffy bits here and there. Just because I do like making things nice and fluffy. Fluffy eyelashes also make me happy. Alright, do the same over here. I guess I should make sure that I actually like this. Yeah, I think it's okay. I'll do the lower lashes after. I want to make sure that I have the upper lashes good before I get too deep into those. Lower lashes not quite as important, so... They're just there because I like drawing them. That's just kind of how it is. And then I'll just draw a couple of little fluffy ones. There we go. How's that look? Okay, yeah, I think that's good. So I'll go get the lower ones. The lower ones are going to have to be much smaller. Just because I made the upper ones so small. And I don't want them to look like disproportionately large. So I will be cutting them down quite a lot. Quite a lot. But it must be done. If I want them to match everything else. And that should be sufficient there. So now I'll get this side where everything will be much, much smaller. And I don't even think that all of these are like especially curved or anything, so that's good. Since everything is supposed to be very straight and angular. Okay, There we go. So now I'm finally gonna get the white part just sitting in her eyes like it should be. As opposed to, you know, all the stuff that had been bleeding outside and, you know, just generally making a big mess. And once again, I will be making it very, very straight. Because there are still no curves allowed here. So that's going to make it look a little bit different than what I would normally do. I swear, it's going to be really weird to go back into drawing what I want to draw for tomorrow. I'll be starting a new picture. And everything there is just going to be so soft and adorable. And it's like the opposite of what I'm doing here. So that'll be interesting. We'll see how I do switching between them. Okay. Okay, so like that. Her eyes look totally out of focus now, but I'll be able to fix that. Okay. So as always, the first thing I'm gonna do, actually, is delete them. Because right now, they are blurry. Okay, and then the second thing I want to do is I actually want to turn my layers back on. Now that I've gotten all the basics drawn. Because I want to make sure the gaze is correct. So that'll be the important part, although this kind of looks like pretty special in its own right. So I want to make sure she's looking at the viewer here. I'm not drunk. Yeah, that's some drunkenness, all right. I don't want her to have a lazy eye. That's always important. Okay, so I think that size is good, so I'm just gonna move it around. Until it looks like she's looking at me and is not cross-eyed. Alright, how we doing? Alright, seems alright. Do I think you're a little too small? Maybe just a little? Oh, that's way too big. That is also too big. Maybe I do have it right. Okay. No, that was a little better. Okay, so I just had it slightly too small. Alright. Next. Pupils. I'm just gonna plop him in the center of her eye here, and I'll move him around if I need to. I don't think I need to. Okay. I will name the layer, though. Okay. Shadows. Only gonna use black. And I'll do the same on the eye white after I draw this. But I just want to get this all in first. And I'm going to have to do something a little special here because I want to make sure that the eyelashes are visible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my purple color and draw kind of underneath here. Actually, You know what? I think it'll be easier to invert the color on the eyelashes. Maybe not. Oh, I didn't merge. Okay. There we go. So now I can see where the eyelashes overlap the eyes here. And I can kind of draw a purple line around them. So kind of the inverse of what I've been doing with everything else. Okay. So that's really messy, but you gotta start somewhere. And now, I know where those eyelashes are. So I'll be able to properly separate them. So now the thing with Malice is that she actually has special pupils. They are shaped like a flower. Unless her eyes are wide. And guess what? Her eyes are wide. So I'm not going to put the flower in. I'm just going to leave the pupil. I was thinking about maybe making it the flower, but I don't think I should. I think this is easier to understand, and that is pretty important when you're drawing something so minimal. Like, I have pared away quite a lot of detail here. And I think the last thing I need here is just a specular highlight, but I would like to get the shadows on the eye white going first. So that's going to be interesting too. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take the eyelashes and just make them a little lighter, so that this way when I put the black on, I can actually see what I'm doing. And I'll be able to make the area by the eyelashes white in order to separate them out. Okay. So I'll just continue this line here. And I'll send it all the way around the eyelashes. I think I'll do it with the hair too. I see. Okay, never mind. I won't do it with the hair. Or maybe I will. And this time I'm just gonna get it looking nice, since I just have the color on them changed. I think I'm gonna leave them like this until I do the other eye. No reason to make them black again until the eyes are done. Okay. And now I'll come back over here, and I do think I will add just a little bit of separation to the hair as well. Just realized I forgot to do it right here. Whoops. It's okay. And that's basically where I will leave that eye. In theory, I mean, looking at it, I'm not quite so sure about it, but okay, it's a start. This one. Do I even want shadows on that one? I might not. What does it look like? Yeah, you know what? I don't think I do. Okay, so I'm gonna see what it looks like, and I'll see if it needs more. Because, like I said, I'm not so sure about this. She looks a little drunk. But let me go get the little eye thing here, and then I can decide how I feel about it. Because, I don't know, maybe I want her to look a little drunk. Maybe it's okay if she does. I don't know, man. Okay. Okay. So, in her actual design, the little diamond here escapes onto her eyelashes a little, so I will be doing that as well. And then once I'm happy with that, I'll draw the little arms coming out here. And then smooth them out. It's always how it is. Get the idea in, smooth it out. Just over and over again until the picture's done. Okay. Welcome back. Okay, and then all the way down. I want this to overlap her lower lash here. Probably all the way until her hand, really. Okay, no, that's a little bit long. Just until here, I think is good. Just until there's good, I think. Okay, I feel like it's a little lopsided, so I'm gonna try to fix that. But otherwise, I think this is looking about right. So I'll go get the little rays of light here. Okay, and any other details that I want to include? Nope, I think that's good, so I can just make these a little pointier. You know, that they got too many curves to be allowed in here. In fact, I think this whole thing does. I kind of zoned out for a second, and I was like, oh no. I just realized now I just put a ton of curves in this. Oopsie. Gotta stop that. I have to fight against my nature, man. I keep wanting to add nice little curves to things. Old habits, they die hard. Even if I'm explicitly very much trying to make things very pointy and angular, I keep wanting to put in curves. It's very silly. Extremely. In fact, I think I put a bunch of curves in the shadow that I put in the other eye, so maybe that's why she looks so drunk. It isn't, but it'd be funny. It would be pretty funny. Okay. So there we go. I think that looks pretty alright. And I'm realizing that even if I don't want too much shadow on the eyes here to make it look a little bit more glowy, that I do still want to have a line around it. So I will put a thin little line just going all the way around. Okay. Just like that. That should be fine. I'm still gonna keep her eyes round instead of square, because I think that would look absurd. So I'm gonna let those curves exist. That's fine. thing it to be an exception. But right now, I feel like she's still looking a little drunk. Let me see. Am I just unhappy with the pupil location? What? Okay, I did not have the pupil layer selected. No, that makes her look even more drunk. So no, it's in the right spot. Maybe a little lower is good. Okay, she looks a little bit less drunk. And then I think the other half is just I need to move the shadow just a little. Okay, I will make that straighter, but I had to start somewhere. I did. I had to start somewhere. Okay. Yeah, I think she looks a little bit less drunk. And maybe the other part is the corner of her eye here. Just, I don't know, make that a little bit less shadowed. Okay, yep, looking a little bit less drunk. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put in a specular highlight here. Gotta do that differently than I normally do. Because it's gonna be black and white. Ooh, very mysterious. Okay. So first, the black part. Then the white part. Okay, black part. White part. Nah, I like it with just the one better. And actually, you know what? These should not be circles. Okay. In that case, I'm gonna bust out the hot pink for a second. So I can kind of see what I'm doing. Okay. I just realized this should not be a round specular. How many times do I have to tell myself? No curves allowed. Look, I let one curve in for the eyes, and suddenly I'm just like, yeah, we can do curves. No! Forbidden! Completely! Okay. This side is still gonna get a specular. I think I'll put the big one on this side. There we go, and then a little guy, little diamond right there. Okay, so this still looks like nonsense. Don't worry about it. I'm just gonna plop a new layer on, and now I'm gonna put in the white parts. Just, you know, hear me out. Trust me here. It's gonna be basically what I did before, just, you know, not freaking, round. Keep doing it. It's terrible, I tell you. Alright, so this is going to be the white part. And it should look pretty cool once I make the hot pink parts black again. And if it doesn't, I'll try a different color. It's fine, either way. Like, maybe I just use the pink from the gems in her crown or something. That might work if black doesn't look good, but I think black will look good. Alright. I'll leave them on separate layers for now, just so I can mess around with things potentially, but yeah, I think black looks good. Let's see. You, though, I think I want to be a little bit more in the eye. A little bit bigger, for that matter. There we go. You still look good when I zoom in? Yeah, I think so. Okay, well, there we go. There are some eyes, and I think that's all I really need to do with them. So... Oh, I'm out of time. You know, I'm glad that's where I want to leave them. Yeah, I think things are looking good, though. I like the face. It's maybe not quite what I pictured, but I think it suits her. And, keeping her still looking a little sleepy. Okay, I think I need to make this eye a little smaller. But otherwise, you know, doing good. But I think I might make the pupils on both a little smaller. Okay, I'll do it one side at a time since I think this one is going to get absorbed into the light anyway. But I think I want this to be much smaller. We gotta look a little more crazed here. There we go. That's a little better. And this one I think is just gonna get lost behind the light there, so I'm not even gonna worry about it. Oh yeah, that's better. So there we go. Still keeps that kind of sleepy default expression, but still kind of looks like her. And you know what? While I'm here, I got 10 minutes. I'm gonna go do her eyebrow. There's one eyebrow to do, and I think it'll sell the rest of the expression here. Okay, I want to angle you a little bit more. Okay. There's no way this takes me 10 minutes, so it's all good. All right. Just need to smooth that out a little. I'm at 133% again, so that it'll never look good. So let's fix that. And then I think when it comes time to do the face, I'm gonna do kind of what I did on the eyes here and make sure that her eyes are like surrounded. But you know, that'll be for later. I was hoping it'd be for today. It didn't quite work out. It's okay. It's worth taking my time on with the eyes, and that crown is just super hard to draw. I remember when I was drawing myself, you know, designing myself, I initially had kind of a big headdress thing too. For one, I just didn't really like it, but for two, I looked at it and I'm just like, God, that would be so hard for the poor little fan artists to draw. So, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Okay, and there we go. That's an eyebrow, and I'd say that is a pretty decent expression. I honestly feel like the eyes might be a little bit small, but no, this one feels fine, and this one feels fine. I think I just need to draw the nose, and things are gonna look weird until I get the nose right. But that's all I really got time for today, unfortunately, as much as I want to keep going. See, this is why I say, whenever I start a new picture, I get tired so fast. Because all the things I gotta do at the beginning in order to make things nice, ooh, it takes some time, and definitely some brain power. But once I get into rendering territory, it's like, nah, I can do that for, you know, like 10 hours straight and be fine. I think the bigger thing that would stop me is just my legs needing to stretch. But, that is where I will stop for today, so thank you all for coming. And I hope you're able to make something wonderful today. I will see you all tomorrow.